there. You just caught me in the middle of something. I'm trying to count how many drops of water are in this cup. So I know how many drops of water our cups hold. So I was on 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh, I got to get some more. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Oh, this is going to be hard to do. 24, 25. This is going to take forever to measure how many drops of water fit into my cup. I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to measure water. But you know, some things are very hard to measure. And since we're talking about Lamentations, in the 3rd chapter of Lamentations, it becomes very apparent that God's love and God's mercy are immeasurable. It means you can't measure it. So it's like taking, you know, a dropper, an eyedropper, and trying to measure a cup with it. In fact, it's even worse. It's like taking an eyedropper and trying to measure all the water in the ocean, because God's mercy and love is everywhere, and there's acts of God's mercy and love that we can count all over the place. And even in the midst of their suffering in Jerusalem, the writer of Lamentations realizes that God's love is immeasurable, and that God's love never ceases and will never come to an end. It's new each day. And that's really a profound thing, because if you remember the last 2 weeks when we talked about Lamentations, we talked about how terrible everything was, how awful life was in Jerusalem after the destruction of the temple, how everything was gone and everything was changed and nothing was going to be the same ever again. And here, finally, the writer realizes that despite everything that's happened, despite all the terrible things that have been seen in Jerusalem, and all the terrible things that are happening, all that's been taken away, God's love is still steadfast. And so at the center of the book, in Lamentations chapter 3, verse 22, we read, "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." And so it's a statement that God's mercy doesn't come to an end, and there's no way to measure God's mercy. So I thought that today, for today's activity, we would do something to remind other people that God's love never comes to an end. Because just like the people in Jerusalem, there are others in the world who are really suffering and sometimes feel like God's love may have come for an end, at least for them. But just like the people in Jerusalem, like the author of Lamentations tells them, pray, pray, pray. And finally, at the end of chapter 3, we hear a very fervent, sincere prayer, not just from the person speaking in Lamentations, but the community gathered in Jerusalem. And it's just an amazing thing to hear them cry out. "You have taken up my cause, O Lord. You have redeemed my life. You have seen the wrong done to me, O Lord. Judge my cause." And it goes on, trusting that after 2 chapters, God has finally seen, and then knowing that God will act because of the immeasurable love. And so our hands-on activity is to make a little card, and it's going to turn out something like this. I wrote on mine just a reminder that God's steadfast love never ends. Love, Pastor Marleen. But you can quote that verse 22 in chapter 3, or you can write something else about God's love never ending that you think would be appropriate. But what you need to do this is you will need this sheet that came in your packet. You will need one of the blank white sheet that came with your packet of materials. And you will need your own glue or glue stick and a pair of scissors to complete the activity today. So you will take and cut out, and this is going to take a lot of good cutting skills. You're going to cut out your hearts ahead of time from this sheet. So you're going to cut both of the hearts right along this right along the solid line, and actually cut out the hearts themselves. And then after you've cut out the heart itself, you can see, you might not be able to see in the video, but you can see on yours that there's dotted lines. And so on the dotted lines, you're just going to carefully take your scissors and cut the whole way along the dotted line around the heart. And when you're done, you're going to have a heart that looks like this. In fact, you're going to do it with both hearts. So you're going to have two hearts that look like that. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cut the second heart here so that we can finish it off. But you have to be really careful around the point in your heart, because it would be really easy to accidentally cut your paper here. And if you cut your paper and you need a new sheet, let us know at church. We've got plenty more of the papers that we can make sure you get. But hopefully you'll do careful cutting and slowly do it, and you won't even have to get out the tape, because I know, at least in our house, tape is very hard to find because it gets used for so many projects. But after you have carefully cut along your lines, you're going to take your two hearts like this, and you're going to glue the hearts together. So the heart pieces in the center, that's what you're going to glue together first. So take your little glue stick, glue your heart together, and then after you have your hearts together, you're going to take your card and make sure you have it folded in half. And I already have mine written in, but you'll probably write in yours after you do this. But you want to fold it in half this way, and you're just going to glue half of this heart onto each side of the paper. So you can see this part of the heart is where you're going to put your glue. And over here, this part of the heart is where you're going to put your glue. Oops. I know it's a little hard to see what I'm doing because my camera's not quite low enough. But I'm putting it on just this half of the heart and gluing it to that half of the paper. And then I'm taking this half of the heart over here and putting some glue on it and gluing it onto this half of the paper, so you get the effect of what I thought looked like a never-ending heart. It's a spiral heart, but it kind of has that look of not ending. And my hope is that you will think of somebody that you know that just needs a reminder that God's love is never ending. And you could mail the card to them, or you could deliver the card in person if it's somebody close enough. And hopefully it'll just help them remember that wonderful gift of God's love. Now, I know you like to have something to hold on to as well, to keep. So you also, in your packet of items, have something that looks like this. In fact, it's on one big sheet and it says prayer catcher. So you'll need to cut it out around the square first. And after you've cut out the square, then you want to make your prayer catcher. So to make your prayer catcher, you're going to fold your paper, after you get it cut out, you're going to fold it in half like this, and you're going to crease that really well. And you can tell I pre-folded this one. And then you're going to take it apart, fold it the other way, crease that really well. And then you're going to open it up two more times actually, and you're going to fold it on the diagonal so it looks like this, and make sure that's a really strong crease. And then you're going to take it apart and fold it on the second diagonal. And again, crease it really well. Now, at first, it's not going to seem like you need to crease it that well, but it's going to make it a lot easier later on in the project. If you've ever made fortune tellers, you understand this. But after you've had it creased, Then you're going to take your paper and you're going to turn it upside down, and you're going to fold all your corners over. So you're going to fold it into the center, and you'll see where the center is because that's where all your lines will come together from your creases. And you're going to do that with each corner on the outside. And you're going to crease those really well too. And it should look like this when you're done with that step. And the back should look like this. And then you're going to turn it over to the back. And you're probably going to want to do this on paper, on a table, not trying to hold it up in the air like I am. But you're going to once again fold all of your corners into the center. And the center is marked now with the writing on the paper, the print on the paper. So fold all of those into the center. And crease that really well on all those edges. And then you're going to take the whole thing like this and fold it in half so it looks like that, and crease that really well. Open it up again, fold it in half again, and crease that really well. And then comes the tricky part. And it may take you a little while to figure out how to do this part. But after you've done all those creases really well, it makes it a lot easier. Because what you're going to do is you have to kind of squish it together like this and pop it out to make your fortune teller. And hopefully there's an adult in your family that at some point has made fortune tellers so they'll know how to do this. But if you really get stuck, give me a call and I'll help you out with that too. But after you have your prayer catcher, you can see there's different emotions on your prayer catcher. Sleepy, hungry, scared, happy. So if you pick out happy, you would spell it out. H-A-P-P-Y. And then you'd look at your animals in there. And one is a dove, one's an octopus, one looks like a skunk to me, and one's a penguin. Now, you could either pick one of those and read the prayer right from there, or if you're a little bit more advanced and you can spell those hard words, you could spell them out again. So, for instance, dove would be D-O-V-E. And then you'd get another chance to pick out, and in this case we have the same animals, but you pick out the penguin, you open up that flap, and underneath it says a little prayer, please care for my family, God. But it's just a way of getting you used to praying, because the whole point of Lamentations is to remind you, no matter what emotions you're experiencing, the place to take those emotions is God, the one who sees you and knows you and loves you no matter what, and wants to hear how you're feeling. Glad you joined me today, and I guess I better get back to measuring out my my water here. Oh, I lost count. Do you think I could start over again? Or do you think it really doesn't matter how many drops of water my cup can hold? Maybe there's a better way to measure water. But I know that you can never measure God's love. Thanks for joining me today. Bye-bye.